Here we are with comic 5, which is called Cassie's Nightmare, which was created in October 2019. And what is the well-known event that happens during October? You've guessed it, Halloween. So this is like my attempt on a Halloween thriller horror type of story. So that's what I was trying to do with this here. So this is the front cover here. So pretty decent front cover, right? I like the title, Cassie's Nightmare, stands out because of the contrast of the background here. We've got an axe here. We've got some really bad blood here done in Photoshop, and some blood on the floor here as well done in Photoshop. You can just about see a figure in the background there. They're kind of like legs and feet here. So it's very mysterious, very much in the genre of Halloween type of storytelling. So that's what I'm trying to do there. And in the bottom left we have a name change, right? So the previous comics had something, I think it had My Dot or something like that. This one's got Bad Comics, right? Yeah, I know, it sounds stupid as it is. It is stupid. I told you that the names were going to be weirder. The publishing names were going to get weirder and weirder as we went through this video. So that's the publishing name there. I changed it to Bad Comics. Don't ask me why I changed it. I just did, because I didn't yet know what I wanted to call my publishing name, right? What do I want to give it? For example, like Marvel is Marvel Comics, right? And then you've got DC Comics. So what do you want your publishing imprint to be? And I hadn't decided yet, so I was just playing with names as I was making these comics. So on to page 2 here, panels 1 and 2. So with these panels 1 and 2, what I wanted to do was to show the character kind of waking up, right? So they're kind of waking up here, and then you've got the dialogue here in this thought balloon here, which means they are saying it to themselves, obviously. So we've got the images here where the character, we're seeing from the point of view of the character, is blurry, right? You know, like when you open your eyes in the morning and it's not quite clear straight away. So that's what I was trying to do with these effects here with these two panels. Having the pictures by themselves here wouldn't have made too much sense. So that's why we've got the thought balloons here to add context to these panels. So that's the difference, right? When you are when the art can only do so much, this is why you have the dialogue here or whatever you got here to add context to this, right? To this panel to make it, for it to make sense. Otherwise you just have the kind of artwork here and it doesn't make much sense. And having this word balloon here, these thought balloons rather, gives it more context. So panel 3 here, we've got kind of like the point of view of our character here, and they are looking at around now, right? So over here they're kind of waking up from wherever they're from, and now they can clearly see, and they're looking to the right here, and they can see like they're stuck inside this contraption here. They can't move. And then we've got the dialogue here, what the bloody hell. And this is the thought balloon again here as well. Now this image is okay. It's not very clear how the point of view is here, so I really would redo that image. It's not very well done, I think. The hair kind of shouldn't be there, I think. So the hair shouldn't be there. The hair should be to the side or something. So it looks kind of, it's not very clear like what this is here. So when I was looking at this, reviewing this, as I was writing down my notes for this particular part of the video, I thought this part was the back of the head or something, and apparently this is the hair of the character and it's kind of flowing forward, and it shouldn't be doing that. So I definitely would change the artwork for this particular panel. Then we move on to page 3, panel 1 here, what I call the jump scare panel. So everybody knows what a jump scare is, where in a movie you have the jump scare, you have the music, and then someone jumps out at you and it scares somebody, right? So that they use that a lot in movies and TV programs when it's to do with horror or whatever. So that's what I did here. So that's what we've got here in this panel here. So we've got the dialogue here, boo, which is fine, I suppose. It's absolutely fine. So we have this camera angle here, which is very uncomfortable, right? You're looking at it from this perspective as you're reading it, and that's very like uncomfortable. It's very unusual. You don't like it, right? As I'm looking at this, because it's like upside down and the camera angle's tilted a bit and everything, it's very unnerving for the reader. And that's the whole point of using this particular camera angle here, is to make it unnerving for the reader, to get a emotional reaction from them, which is like, hey, I'm trying to scare you here, or I'm trying to unnerve you here. And if I've done that, then I have done my job as a writer, right? I'm trying to get an emotional response from you. That's what stories should do. Stories should get some sort of emotional response from your reader. If you're not getting an emotional response from your reader, then there's something wrong with your story. So they should definitely hate a character, they should definitely like a character, they should definitely never ever be indifferent to a character. They should either like a character or hate them, right? You want them to pick a side. And very, very important when you're doing stories is you don't just want someone to go through the story and be like, meh, it was okay. I mean, I didn't like anybody, I didn't hate anybody, it's just a story. You have done a very poor job if your story does that. So by the end of your story, there should be at least one or two characters or several characters that your readers like, hey, I like this character because of the way they acted. I like this character because of this particular action they took. I don't like this character, they're evil, they're bad. I don't like evil, bad people, so I definitely don't like that character. And that's what you want. So when you're creating stories, then we move on to panel 2 here on page 3. The reader finally gets to see the character here that we were seeing from the point of view perspective from, right? So from this page 2 here, these 3 panels rather, we were seeing it, the reader was seeing it from this person's point of view, and now the reader gets to see in this panel here on page 3, panel 2, they can see what the character looks like here. Now this dialogue here, should really be a thought balloon. She's not really saying this out loud, she's thinking to herself like, what have I just seen here? And the expression could definitely be done a lot better in this particular panel here. She's scared, but she doesn't seem to be in distress, right? I think we could dial that up to probably 10 or 11 and make it look even more, give more impact to the panel basically in terms of the expression here. One thing I don't like in this panel is the hair. Look at the hair, right? It's super straight. And if this person has been like jumped from behind and knocked out and then put on this particular, I don't know, this particular contraption here where they're tied up, the hair should be everywhere. It looks like she's just come out of the salon or something. And she's got this very nice hair, very straight hair. It shouldn't be like that. The hair should be everywhere. So I would definitely change that. And with the hair being everywhere, it shows distress. Yeah, adds to the distress of the character. Because if the hair is out of place and it's all over the place, then it shows a bit of distress, a bit of like urgency, as in what's happening in this story. So I would definitely change that. Because having this hair straight like this looks very unusual, very strange. And it doesn't add to the distress of the character. It needs to add to the distress of the character, which is what she's feeling right now after looking at this person with the weird mask freaking her out. So definitely this hair should definitely be all over the place. On to page 4 here, panel 1. The character here has taken off the mask here, so now the reader knows that she was just wearing a mask. The dialogue here is fine, right? Haha, pretty lady got scared. That's fine. However, the pose here is absolutely horrendous. I don't know what's going on with the pose here. The arm is kind of like this weird angle here, and what's going on here. Yes, she's holding the mask there, that's fine. But this arm, I don't know what this pose is. And the expression here on the character, there is no expression to emphasize the tone of this particular dialogue. So lots to do here with this. So the character at the bottom as well, you can see the expression is exactly the same as the previous panel here, this one here. I didn't change it. I didn't think about changing it, I just left it, right? So ideally that should change as well to add to the passage of time of the story, what's happening. On to page 4, panel 2 here. This is the reaction from what the character here said, this dialogue here, haha, pretty lady got scared, and then she had the thought balloon saying bollocks here. Now again, this expression is not very well done whatsoever. Definitely redoing to add to this particular dialogue that's being said here in this thought balloon. And again, the hair, look at this hair, it's just super straight, super perfect. Like I said, she just come out of the salon. Like, come on, really? She needs to be in more distress. So this hair should be all over the place, and that would again add to the distress of this character, the predicament she is in. So one thing I do want to point out is the kind of language I'm using for this character here is she's supposed to have like a British accent, and I'm from the UK, so I should be able to pull this off with a British accent. So when I was thinking about creating this particular character here, I was like, okay, this character is going to be from the UK and she's got a British accent, so we can use British terminology in this and British kind of like semantics and British sayings in this dialogue that I'm doing for this character, which sets him apart from everybody else. So what I'm trying to do for each of these stories as I'm going through is I'm practicing the different tone, the different speech patterns, because that's what's required, right, for your character to be unique. Is you need to go and think about the character. How do they speak? The speech patterns. How do they move? How do they talk? How do they walk? What words do they use a lot? What terminology do they use? And it's very important because, like I said in the previous reviews, is you want to create unique characters. You don't want all the characters who talk the same. You will see this in a lot of the Marvel comics, especially the writing. Like, all the characters seem to talk the same for some reason now. The way they talk, it doesn't make sense. Like, everybody talks uniquely. They use specific phrases, specific words. That just shows that you remember the devil in the details. That shows that you care about the characters. You know your characters inside and out. That's going to set you apart from everybody else. On to panel 3 here, and we have this character here. She says, your skin and hair is so soft. So with this dialogue, I mean, it's okay. I definitely would change this dialogue to have something like, your skin, hair, so soft, something like that, and have like a couple of extra word balloons here to separate it, to add a bit more, like, slow down the reading, slow down the kind of the pace of the story by having more word balloons here, and add more impact to the panel. So I could have done that. Definitely would do that now with we have space here for it as well, so you could do that with this particular panel. The pose here is awful. It really needs improving. I don't like, it's too straight, right? Everything's too straight. It should be more organic, the pose. And she's not even like touching her hair or her skin, so definitely would have this character here doing more of that, kind of like trying to like make this other character here that's on the table more uncomfortable. The expressions as well, there's no expression on this character. It's just the bland expression here, and the expression here on this character is exactly the same from this panel here, so I haven't even changed that. Definitely would need to change that as well. Again, the hair, right, too straight again. I don't like it. It's just ridiculous. And then the hair for this character, if she's bending forward, this hair needs to move at least somewhere, or at least needs to be closer to her neck, right, because of gravity again. Really need to think about these little things matter, right? These details matter. It shows that you care as a creator. It may seem minuscule and a bit like tedious, but it shows that you care. So panel 4 here on page 4, she's moving in a bit closer here, this character, and then she says this particular dialogue, why were you following me, pretty lady? And then the bottom character says, get your hands off me. So the dialogue's fine, that's okay. However, again, there's no expression here from this character to add to the context of this tone of this dialogue here, and the same here, right? This character here, she's shouting, right? She's got an exclamation mark at the end, but she's not showing the expression here on her face to add the emphasis to that. So definitely need to work on that. To make this panel more interesting, it would have been better if this character here was further or was closer to this character at the bottom and say this particular line here. It shows that she's interrogating her, and I think that would have been better in terms of the drama as well, because these two are strangers, and if this person, like if this person comes close to you, say if you're this person and this person comes close to you and they say this line here, right, or whatever, it's uncomfortable, right? You don't know this person, they're a stranger, they're in your personal space, so you're going to get a reaction, and that's what we want from this story, and we're going to get that drama unfolding. So we would have made this panel more interesting for the reader. On page 5 here, panel 1, dialogue is fine, right? Maybe pretty lady needs to see the doctor, and then this one at the bottom, this character says, Bob says, where the hell am I? So again, to make this panel better, the expression here needs to be for this character to add context again, to tone to this dialogue. Same for this one here. I believe it's the same expression. It's the same expression from this panel here, this panel here, and this panel. I haven't even bothered to change it, so it's really, really bad in terms of storytelling. So something to note as well is to make sure that you are always thinking about your characters, right? Is that expression the same as the one in the previous panel and the one before? If it is, then you need to think about changing the expression to match, or at least change something, because there's no way that character would have the same expression throughout these 4 panels, because it doesn't show passage of time. It just shows that you're not paying attention to the story as a creator, and readers will pick up on that. On to panel 2 for page 5 here. We have this character saying this dialogue here, hey, where are you going? Let me out now. What I would do here for this dialogue is have this dialogue in one word balloon, and then have the other dialogue here in a separate balloon underneath or something, to add a bit more impact to the dialogue. And then obviously for this character here, we need to change the expression to match that dialogue, to give it the emphasis and the impact of what she's saying. you'll see that the door is here and the door is slightly open. This is to show the reader that this character here has left right through this door here. That's why I've left it open here on purpose a little bit. So you can tell like this door wasn't open before, it is now, and that this character here has gone through that door. Now, one thing that isn't very clear is which door has she gone through, because if you go to this panel here, you can see like there's one door here and there's another door there. So which door has she gone through? I haven't made it very clear which one is. What you can see is this kind of object here right at the back here, which is this object here, like a control breaker where all the fuses are, for example. It looks like one of those. So it is there over here on this panel here. So that's the door she went out of, which is this door here. But it's not very clear. I probably could have zoomed out a bit more with the camera so we could show that and then make it very clear to the reader like, hey, she didn't go out of this door, she went out of this door here. That would definitely help more in terms of clarity for the reader. On to panel 3 here. So we have this dialogue, maybe I can get free, this kind of like thought balloon, which is absolutely fine, dialogue's okay. And then she's looking at her arm here and she's trying to break free. Now, what would have been more better in this panel is to actually show her struggling. So let's show her struggling. There is no struggling here. It just looks like she's looking at her wrist here and she's not even moving it. So some sort of like motion blur effect or something to make it look like she's struggling, and then maybe show her struggling on the other side as well to show like, oh, she's trying both of them, right? She's trying to, maybe this one isn't loose, but the opposite side might get loose, right? So let's show that. So we could have had the panel in 2 here like this, and then have this panel showing like trying to break out of that one, and then another panel here showing her trying to break out the other side, or her legs or feet or something to show the struggle, to make it more impactful with the story. So that definitely would have been a lot better than just having and just showing this particular portion of the artwork here, like she's just looking at her wrist and nothing's happening. So that definitely would add to the struggle that this character is feeling, the immense danger she is in. Page 6, panel 1 here, we finally get like a zoomed out camera shot here to see a bit more in terms of what the predicament this character is in. And then she's got a thought balloon here saying they're too tight. So that word balloon, that dialogue is fine. Again, the expression here needs work. The hair as well needs to be moved as well to show distress. And this expression doesn't help, right? Because if she says they're too tight, she's not even like trying to get up here. She's not even trying. Where's the distress? Where's the urgency of her trying to break free, right? So even though it's not very good storytelling in terms of just having that panel there, so we'll definitely change that to something else that shows the distress that she's trying to, right? So from the previous panel here, she's trying to break free, and then she's trying to break free, and she's like, oh, they're too tight, something like that. So that would definitely add a bit more urgency and distress for the character. Also, this section here in the middle, which actually looking at it now, it looks ridiculous, right? Look at that gap there for this character here, right? So the character's in the middle here. This middle section that's keeping her pinned down is not even tight. So definitely go through and fix that and make that more tighter to pull it to one side. At least make it more tighter like she is actually. Like these wrists that she's stuck in here, these locks or whatever they are, these bands that are here that's locking her in place on her wrist, they're very tight as you can see. She's not going anywhere. But this one here, she's got a bit of movement and play here, so that shouldn't be like that. So that's definitely something to change here. On to panel 2 here. We've got this dialogue here for the character now in a thought balloon. I hope Sam got my message, otherwise I'm stuffed. So again, this is British terminology, the word stuffed. So it could mean a number of things, but in this particular context here, it means I'm in trouble. So instead of her saying, oh, I'm in trouble, that's kind of boring, right? So you want to think about your character, what's the specific phrases they would use. My character here, this particular character here, would use this phrase in this particular predicament that she's in. That's the way she talks, and that's what sets her apart from everybody else. Nobody else would use that terminology except for her, because that's the way she speaks. So that separates her from everybody else or every other character in a story. Again, the expression needs working on here. It doesn't add to the tone of what's being thought here in the thought balloon. So we need to change that. One good thing about this panel is that there's this character called Sam being mentioned. So hopefully, again, that's getting the reader interested. Like, who is this Sam that this character that's stuck in this predicament is speaking about? It helps the reader's imagination. Like, okay, there's this person that this character knows that is called Sam. So who is this Sam? Like, how is she going to help her? So that gets like the imagination of the reader going as well. So that's probably the only good thing about this panel. We've mentioned this third character and we've created some sort of like open loop again for the reader to be like, okay, there's this person called Sam. Maybe Sam's going to save this character. So the reader starts thinking like that, and that's good. You want your reader engaged in the story. On to panel 3 here. We have the character saying this dialogue, help, is anyone there? Now with this dialogue, I would definitely change it into 2 word balloons. So have help here in 1 word balloon, and then have is anyone there in a 2nd word balloon to add more impact to the dialogue. And then this expression here is very bad as well. We need to dial this expression up to like 10 or 11 because this character needs to be in distress. She's asking for help, like help, is anyone there? And that doesn't make any sense. The current expression doesn't show she's in distress. It just shows her mouth open. That's it. So it's not adding to the story, to the drama, to anything. And I think to add a bit more to the story, more impact to the story as well, is to zoom in, right? Remember what I said in the previous comic book review that I did, where when you move in closer to a character and you see the expression, you feel that character's expression. We want to have that emotional reaction from the reader, and the best way to do that is to zoom in on a character's face so we can show you that expression. This is an effect that storytellers have been used since day one. If you look at any movie, any TV program you watch, when there's someone that's sad or happy, they zoom in on that, right? Why? Because they want you as the viewer to have the same feeling as that character, so you can have the empathy for them. So if someone's happy, you see them being happy, you feel happy. If someone's sad, you see them being sad, you'll feel sad, right? You're trying to elicit an emotional response from the viewer, in this case the reader, because that's how we are going to engage our reader, right, through the emotions. So very, very important to use that whenever possible. On to page 7, panel 1. The character returns wearing a white lab coat and says this dialogue, no need to shout, the doctor is here now. So I think what definitely would have made this a lot better is, yes, she's shutting the door here, she's just returned, that's absolutely fine. We need a more menacing kind of like expression on her face where it's more serious or something to that effect, so we can't see the reaction from the character here. We need more of that, again, to add context to tone to this particular dialogue. And then we have this character here with her dialogue here, which is in a thought balloon. The doctor, this bitch has more than a few screws loose. Again, we need to work on the expression here. I don't like the expression here. She's kind of like confused. Again, we need to dial that confusion expression higher up to get that across to the reader. So at the moment it's pretty tame in terms of that confused kind of like expression she currently has. On to page 7, panel 2 here. This is a lot better, this panel. Why? Because this character here is a lot closer to this character here, which means she's making her uncomfortable, right? We want that, right? We want that. We want to put our protagonists here in uncomfortable situations and see how they react. Makes for great storytelling, makes for great drama, makes for great conflict, and overall just makes for a good story. You don't want to put your character that's in a comfortable situation. That's a boring story. Nothing important or nothing exciting will happen. You want to put them in a situation where they have to choose a particular type of action, they have to do something, they have to make a decision, and that's what makes great stories. So this character here now is closer to this one here, and she has this dialogue, tell me why you were following my nurse, and then she has this other dialogue here, not feeling talkative. Now obviously this dialogue here, she doesn't need this, so I've removed that dialogue. Definitely don't need that dialogue there, and just have this for this character. And then this character here, she got her own dialogue in this thought balloon. I better play along until Sam finds me. That dialogue's fine, nothing wrong with it. I would definitely change the expression here. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't even look like she's looking at the character here. So change the expression to match the tone of this particular thought balloon dialogue here. So that's what would need to be done there to make it a lot better. On to panel 3 here. The doctor now says, maybe the pretty lady needs a little persuasion. So that dialogue is okay, that's fine. Again, the character's expression here doesn't match what she's saying, so that would definitely need to be changed here. And then this dialogue here, this character says, I wasn't following you. That dialogue is fine because that's the way that she talks, that's okay. And the expression needs work on here as well to make this dialogue more impactful. What I would do for this particular scene here is move the camera around a bit more to show what this character is grabbing here, because it's not very clear what she's grabbing here. Yes, we can see a little peek of the axe here, but she's not going for that. She's going for something else, and we really should turn the camera angle around to see what this character, the Doctor, so to speak, is trying to grab. And the axe is there, so there's a little bit of foreshadowing there, I suppose you could say that, because as we've already probably foreshadowed in the cover of this particular comic, that it's going to be, she will end up using the axe eventually, but there it is, we're showing it there in this particular panel. On to panel 4 here, we have the Doctor, so to speak, grabbing this character's hair now. And over here, we have the dialogue for the Doctor. Liar, how about I cut some of that hair? Some of that pretty hair. That's fine, right? The dialogue's fine there. And for this character here, let go of me, you crazy bitch. That's fine as well. That dialogue is fine. The expression here definitely needs work here for this character. And it's not clear what this character's holding. So she's holding something, but it's not clear here what she's holding. She is holding a knife, but you can't see that. So again, I would have to change the pose here to make that better, to show that she's actually holding some sort of knife here. So that's not very well or clearly done there in this particular panel, so would need to improve that. Page 8, panel 1, we have the Doctor here, and she's cutting our protagonist's hair here with her dialogue. Crazy, we're just getting started, pretty lady. So that dialogue's fine. The expression looks okay here, because she's kind of like got her head pointing down, so she looks kind of menacing there. That seems to be okay. And then this dialogue here, don't you dare. Maybe we could definitely change that dialogue to something else, like she should be like a lot more distressed, so maybe some more F-bombs or something, right, as she's cutting her hair. The expression for the pose here, the expression here looks okay. Probably needs to be again dialed to 10 or 11, like she should be in a lot of distress here, so definitely should be dialing that up. We have artwork issues here as well in the middle. You can see like the Doctor's uniform is intersecting with the leg here, so I never thought about that. So I can see that now, where I would have to change that or do something to make sure that the coat of the Doctor's coat is not intersecting with the legs here. It should be flowing obviously as a normal Doctor's coat or normal piece of clothing should. On to panel 2 here, we have the Doctor with the hair that she's cut in her hand, and she has a dialogue. That wasn't so bad. You look much better now. The pose is not very good, obviously. The Doctor should be looking down at this person here, at this particular protagonist, our protagonist. And then this character here says her dialogue, you fucking bitch. Right? So she needs to, she's very angry that her hair got cut. And then obviously the expression here needs to match that to create more impact from the dialogue that's being said here. So you're probably thinking, why have this Doctor here cut this character's hair? So my reasoning behind this is because women value their beauty, and part of that beauty is their hair. Just think about all the adverts that are on TV that are marketed towards women. It's normally skincare and beauty care and hair care. So hair care such as hair coloring, hair shampoo, and the hair products such as hair straighteners or hair colors to make their hair look different, to give them to make themselves feel beautiful, right? And that's what they want to do. So I thought, instead of having this Doctor character just slash at the skin, which is straightforward, which is what most writers would do, let's make it more psychological and emotional trauma by having her haircut of this character. I think it makes for better storytelling, so that's why I did that in this particular story. On to panel 3 here, we have our character here again. She says, ready to talk now. And then this one here, obviously she just had a haircut. She's not very happy, obviously, whatsoever. A lot of trauma there. And she'll say, I'll talk, come closer. So I think this should be in 2 word balloons here. So I'll talk should be 1 word balloon, and then come closer should be in another word balloon. Expression again needs to be better for this particular dialogue, and the pose here definitely needs work. And again, we have the artwork issue as well with the Doctor's cloak here. It's intersecting with the leg, not very good. Now, one big problem with this story so far is that the camera is more or less straight on. So if you go through all the panels, so if you go back to the previous panel, the camera is from the same position, right? It hasn't really moved. It's always straight on, apart from these kind of like panels here. But the majority of it is straight on here, straight on here, straight here. There's no like side view or anything, right? There's no side view. It's always straight. There's no like side view. There's no like view from, for example, from behind. So there's no view from the camera coming from this angle, from behind here, or from here, or from the side here, or maybe from the other side here, right? It's always like kind of like straight on here for some reason. It's always straight like this instead of coming from the other angle. So that's not very good in terms of moving the camera angle around. So You need to be mindful of that when you're having a look. As I'm going through this, as I'm reviewing this, I'm like, hold on a minute, I've just got the camera angle at the straight here all the time. It's not even coming from this angle or that angle or this angle. There's so many angles you can come from to add to the story, and I'm just staying from this angle here. So that goes to show my knowledge at that time, October 2019, in terms of moving the camera around, trying to make it more interesting for the reader. It's work in progress. Panel 4 here, no dialogue required. We just need the action here, and you can see here very poorly done here that this character spits in this character's face here. So it's not very well done. The expression here, as you can see, for the spitting is not very good. So we need to work on that to add emphasis to that. And we could have probably added a sound effect here to show that she's spitting, to add more impact to what's happening. Because at the moment, you can't tell what's happening here. It's very unclear to the reader. So we don't want to confuse the reader. We want clarity for the reader, especially when they're reading. You don't want the reader to go and read this panel and then go back, go, hold on, what happened there? They're gonna lose the flow, right? You want them to continuously go through the particular story like this, and you want them to keep going, right? You don't want them to come here and be like, hold on a minute, what did that person say? Gotta go back over here. That doesn't make sense. Unless they want to admire the artwork, that's fine. But essentially, you want to have that nice flow coming through like this, where your reader is just going through at the natural kind of reading pace and is not being confused along the way. On to page 9, panel 1. What I wanted here was the doctor to lick the spit there to show how demented she is and to show how sick she is, like she's weird. And then we have this dialogue here like, tastes better than I expected. So that dialogue's fine, absolutely fine there. Again, the pose and expression needs work. That tongue there, it doesn't look great at all. You can't even see the character's eyes here. So definitely would need to work on that and add the expression to that as well, to make her look more devious, to make her look more like demented or something. On to panel 2 here. The dialogue here is fine. When I get free, you're gonna wish you were dead. That's absolutely fine. And she looks a bit more angry here in this particular expression here, so that does add to the context, to the tone of this dialogue. And we have the hair cut over here as well. So the hair is actually cut, you can see, and the other part of the hair, the back part is here as well. That was very difficult for me to do, to cut the hair like that, because I didn't yet have the skills. So I was trying to figure out, how am I going to cut this hair and show it? And so what I did was I used, in Daz Studio, there's like geometry editor. You can cut out particular parts of the geometry. So that's what I did. And I also used Photoshop to make it look like the hair is cut here as well. So that was something testing. That was something that needed to be tested. That was something a skill that I had to learn, that took a lot of time to do. But I found a way to make it look like the hair was cut here. I think it looks pretty decent here. So that's not too bad. Sometimes you have to do that, right? When you are creating a story, you might yet not know how to do something, right? You might not be able to do something, even though your story demands that this particular thing is going to happen in a scene, but you don't yet know how to do it. You'll find a way. Believe it or not, you will find a way. If it's that important to you, you will find a way to do the thing you want to do in your scene. Even though you don't yet have the knowledge, you will find a way. You'll find it. For some reason it works, right? I don't know why. When you have something in a story, it happened in Tiger Dragon the Rebirth as well. I had something in the story and I was like, this has to happen. How am I going to make it happen? How am I going to make it work? And eventually I found a way to make that particular scene work by learning a skill or doing something, or maybe finding something on YouTube, or maybe thinking about it differently to get the effect that I wanted. So there's always a way to get that effect for your story. So just because you don't know how to do something yet, when it matters, and if it really matters to you, you will find a way to do that particular thing. So don't worry about that. You should never worry about like, oh, I want to do this thing, but I don't yet have the skills, but in the story it makes sense, and if I remove it from the story, then it kind of doesn't make the story as good. So go for it, right? Always say go for it. Go for it when you're making a story. Like, you'll figure it out. You will find a way. Just like I figured out a way how to cut the hair here to make it look semi-realistic or semi-believable that the hair is cut, that this doctor here, character cut the hair here. You can see that it's cut here as well. So it's good enough, right? So I found a way. So if I can find a way to do it, you can find a way to do whatever you need to do for your scene. On to page 10, panel 1 here. The doctor now has picked up the axe here, and we have her dialogue. It doesn't look like we are getting anywhere. Time for drastic measures. This dialogue definitely needs to be changed, right? It doesn't sound like this character here. It doesn't look like we are getting anywhere. Time for drastic measures. I think that dialogue needs to be changed. I think it doesn't sound like this character whatsoever. So yeah, definitely we'll change the dialogue to match this character. Again, you can't see the character's face. It's very dark here. I can't see the character's face. She's got a bit of a smirk here, but definitely would need to lighten this up so we can see the character's expression, because she's holding the axe now. She should be very happy holding the axe. That needs to be addressed here in this panel. On to panel 2 here, page 10. We have the doctor now. Sorry, pretty lady, I'm late for another appointment. That sounds like this character here, this dialogue, so that's a lot better. I would definitely leave that. Then we have this character here. She's saying no. And again, we should really dial this expression for this character to level 100, because look what's about to happen. She's going to use the axe and she's going to cut her arm off. Now, this pose needs to be improved as well. It's too straight, right? She's holding it up. It's too clunky. It's too robotic. She should be kind of like, the axe should be more above her head. Should be like back here or something. I think the axe should be higher up here. Like the momentum, like she's about to, she could tell, like if the axe is further back here, like overhead, you could tell she's about to do that movement. Or maybe have the axe coming down here already and having like some sort of speed line or something to show that the axe is being moved. But to add more impact to this particular panel, so that's how I would change this panel here. Panel 3 here, the camera's moved away and we can see the shadows here and we can see the blood splattering against the wall. So this is the way I was thinking about this. I was like, hold on a minute. How am I going to show this character here cutting the arm here? Like, how am I going to do that? I don't have the skills to do it. Now, Reed don't have the skills to do it. I don't know how to do it. And I thought to myself, okay, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. So what can I do? What do you see sometimes in TV programs and movie programs is sometimes they won't show the particular action being done. So let's say, for example, this axe going through the particular arm or something, they will just show the blood going onto the wall or blood going everywhere or something like that. And that's enough, right? Why? Because the reader can do the rest of the storytelling, right? The reader can look at that, you can look at that, I can look at that and be like, okay, you can see there's a person here with some sort of implement here, some sort of object here, and they're cutting into something and the blood is going somewhere. You can see that, right? So the picture the reader is putting in their mind, they can make that up themselves, right? So that engages the reader. That's another way to engage the reader, by not showing them everything or kind of hiding something, and it lets the reader fill in the gaps. You're kind of like giving the piece of the puzzle, like I always say, to the reader, and the reader's putting it together themselves. That's what you want. You want to engage your reader. Very, very important. On to page 11 here, panel 1. We have this like lightning effect, which looks kind of cool here. And a little bit of rain here. It hasn't come out very clearly here in this particular render. And then we have the crack sound effect here to add emphasis to the thunder happening outside of this particular room or window or whatever it is here. So that's why we got the sound effect here, because obviously there are no sounds when you're reading a comic book. So you have to add sound effects to add emphasis to that particular panel. So that's why we've got this crack sound effect, which is absolutely fine in this particular case. Panel 2 here, again, it's not very clear. It's very dark here, so definitely need to work on the lighting. Expression is okay, and she's got like a very wet face here, so that was to show that she's sweating from this, and she's just woken up from like a nightmare. That's what I'm trying to show here in this particular panel. And she's with her dialogue here with a so she's breathing really fast, right? She's just woken up from like this, what seems to be this particular thunder crackling outside. So that's what I was trying to show here. Panel 3 here, we've got her inner thoughts here, her dialogue in the thought balloon. Shit, another bad dream again. So again, this is giving the information to the reader that this happens a lot. So that's why I put the word again there. And she's sitting here on the end of her bed here. She's looking down as well in terms of the posture. In terms of her head, right? Head's pointing down, which means normally when the head points down, it means that it's not good, right? You're looking down, which is like negative. You're not looking up, or you're not looking straight on. You're looking down, which is kind of like negative, which is like a very negative body posture. And then we have the cover here, which was done using D-Force here. So with the cover here, I used D-Force to make it look like she's just pushed the cover across here. So that's what I did here to get the effect for this particular panel. Panel 4, we have our character here who's in her little bathroom here. Then we have her dialogue. Why the bloody hell am I still having these dreams? So that's her dialogue here. Okay dialogue, nothing wrong with it. And there's water coming out here. That's kind of cool. She's trying to wash her face basically. And look at this. Can you believe this? Shocking, right? This is very shocking. Why is it shocking? Look at the hair. Gravity is acting on the hair. So I managed to remember that. When I was creating this comic in October 2019, I've got the hair here and it's going down. Look, gravity is acting on it and look, it's moving forward. So that's something odd there. So I managed to remember that, which is interesting. On to page 12 here, we have the character. We kind of zoomed in over the kind of like shoulder shot here. And then we have another thought balloon here. Better tell Sam the therapy's not working. And then she's kind of looking in the mirror as well, but to the right here, because she's thinking about it. So I was really happy when that came out. It looks really cool as well. And then on to page 13 here, the last panel here, we have the dialogue here. Why did I have to lose my arm? And then you realize that as the reader, that there's an arm here, it's cut, that this was actually true. So this nightmare here that she was having is true. What happened to her? This is the same character here, and hence why her hair is like this. So that's why her hair is shorter here. If you see, her hair is shorter here, right? Why is it shorter? It's that kind of like emotional trauma I was talking about earlier. She had her hair cut off, and now ever since then she's had it shorter, right? She doesn't want it long for whatever reason, right? And that's why I've got the hair shorter here. Really, really bad attempt at tears here, so that's not very well done. Definitely need to do that again. This here, the arm being cut off here, it doesn't look very good at all. I think it needs to be more of a stump, right? So it needs to be more of a stump here, so there's not much of a stump there. That's how I would improve this particular panel here. Again, the hair needs to come forward a bit more, so the hair needs to be like kind of like covering the face a bit. I think covering the face a bit more, something like this, coming down like this, maybe over a shoulder perhaps.